Yeah, so thanks so much, Gilad. I think Revelator and Revelator Labs is doing a phenomenal job to democratize access to your own intellectual property. And I think there's no other market in the world that's most exciting for blockchain technologies to infiltrate and reorganize the world in a more fairer and transparent place than in Africa. If you consider us as a continent, our GDP is deriving off of minerals and resources being extracted from the ground. And it's very much industrial in an industrial world where the majority of our nations get employed, 1.2 billion people on the continent. But what's happening right now in Africa is a technological and a cultural revolution. You see, technology is being adopted quite heavily, and mobile smartphone is influencing that. So in the next 5 years, there's going to be 600 million kids under the age of 25 that's going to enter a digital-first world of work. They're going to do this with a mobile smartphone, and their choice of work is going to be creativity. It's like a religion for people in Africa. Music, to take your mind and have a vision and create something beautiful and new out of it. But to earn money from it is almost an impossible task. But the exciting thing is that digital is growing so fast that it is outperforming the pace at which traditional industries can transform. And what this is creating is two problems. One is an infrastructure problem, and number two is a financial rights problem. So starting with something that I'm personally very passionate about, just like with Gilad, being an artist, a musician, then a fintech guy, and coming back to my roots, doing my dream job basically, is to solve the broken music system in the African continent. And I'll tell you why. Because last year, the global recorded music revenues topped $28 billion. Right? Only a third of that went to the creators, after all the publishers and the labels and everybody took their money. Less than 1% came to Africa. And the reason for this is because music has an infrastructure problem. Out of 54 countries in one large continent, there are only 33 rights societies, representing independent artists to collect their royalties from broadcasters and digital medium and streams. And these rights societies, of the 33, only 3 of them have digital infrastructure. And this is causing a financial rights problem to the growing digital artists. To go to a rights society and register your music, right, is still a branch and a paper-based process. There's no online place to come and upload your music securely, copyright it, distribute it, license it, and monitor the usage of it. There's no technology for these rights societies to do it on your behalf. And because there's no digital technology and data infrastructure in Africa's music business or rights societies, there's no transparency on how many people are consuming your music, resulting in royalties being wrongfully recorded, a lot of fraud, of course, and because 80% of our continent is still underbanked, you can't pay artists in their own currency, and it's very volatile. So we believe, because of this, that Africa needs its own platform. And it needs to decentralize itself from traditional infrastructure and on-chain itself in a decentralized matter. So how we are going to do this is in partnership with Revelator. Over the last year, we've been incubating what the vision for Africa's Web3 economy could and should look like. How are we going to enable artists to, at the low-end mobile smartphone, be able to upload their music directly, distribute it to fans in digital marketplaces, have analytics and insights about how their fans are consuming their music, build a direct and more meaningful, deeper relationship with their fans, and ultimately bank their money first before any other fat cat can. Right? So we're excited to announce that we've built this with a phenomenal artist, the #1 hip-hop artist in South Africa. He's probably the next Drake of the world, hands down. Nasty C, in partnership with my team, distributed creative technologists that come from a fintech background. And together we are building an independent record label and a decentralized music marketplace for independent artists. It's called Tallrack.xyz. So how we are doing this is we've built a very light web application that allows us to operate on a relatively low-end mobile smartphone up until obviously a beautiful device. So artists would be able to register by signing on with any of their social or streaming accounts. We'll be able to aggregate all of that data into a single place, connect their wallet to generate a wallet or create a wallet or pull in existing data from the existing wallets, so that artists have one single place to have their collectibles, their audio and their visual content safely secured and processed through the original works protocol. Once artists have connected all of their accounts, they get a detailed breakdown of all their revenues. Revenues from streaming, from brands in terms of advertising, from fans in terms of tips, donations and subs. And in addition to that, they get a detailed view about their fans. Who are their fans? Which cities are people listening to them? Where should they be touring next? Where should they go and throw a digital concert versus travel and have a physical concert? All of this data is not available to traditional artists, but now it is. And that means that you can now start seeing your actual revenue per follower and know what your cost is to create content, to start marginalizing and profiting from your music. So once you're signed up, you can create a number of content. So the first step is for us, as we're targeting artists, other than other visual and influencer and creators in the economy. So as an artist, you would come and release a track. You would upload it from your digital audio workstation or your mobile phone. If you're an African artist, you'll generate album art, or you will maybe have somebody that created one for you. All that metadata is then packaged in that DDX file that Gilad was speaking about. The exciting part is inviting your co-creators and collaborators to acknowledge them in the agreement, so that no streaming or distribution of royalty fraud can occur, and that every artist has trust in the system when the song is being produced. Once the contract is issued, music is distributed out to 40 digital streaming service providers, as well as video platforms, and directly to the artist's fan page. So all that metadata is now beautifully aggregated, and just in one click, the artist can publish his release, one pipe to all the DSPs and all the social media networks. An artist would use their @handle or the URL to invite their fans to come and engage with them directly on their artist paywall. Here, fans are empowered to follow an artist, subscribe to gated content, listen to music, segregated by video, look at the NFTs as well as the merchandising. So one thing that we're excited about is how this business model can enable other communities. And we thought that as a platform, we've got quite a nice new way of making NFTs and music engaged. So brands predominantly in Africa need a new business model, a new method to connect to young people. Traditional advertising doesn't work. So creators and the creator economy and influencers are actually doing quite well in Africa. They're rising. And there's a lot of brands with $32 billion that's trying to find more of these creators to place their products in ads or in music. And what we are doing is we're opening up this platform to big brands and corporates to license this, and they then onboard their creators in their communities. That means you've got corporate money that is non-record label driven and not disincentivized. And then what happens is that creators can now position their music, launch it with the funding from a brand direct to artists, and as the fans engage with that music, they redeem the rewards directly into their wallet, and that enables brands to get into the Web3 slipstream, but at the same time, artists are empowered to get all their royalties on-chain, and with that, they can now start getting advances on these brand campaigns for doing a campaign with Coca-Cola. If the campaign is worth $5,000, maybe the marketplace or the fans want to start advancing half of that money to the creator to make the campaign work. Creators can now also launch an album token, a royalty token, so fans can buy into the derivative works or into the asset of the artist and start unlocking royalty shares, and the artist gets some capital out. as well as raise money for any new projects or making an album, right? I'm excited about Africa because for 2 years in a row, this is the fastest growing music market in the world. People dance and they have such a good time, and we are having such a good time building for this economy. It's young, it's youthful, and it's driving digital adoption like in no other place on earth. Okay. And right now, the music industry is it's about $28 billion, but it's going to grow to 150 in the next 5 years, and Africa is projected to get about 10%. Right now, 4% of the world is listening to Amapiano. You might have heard of it. If you haven't, it's the next big thing in hip-hop. So Amapiano is a unique cultural style of music. It's a fusion between Nigeria and South Africa, and we've created this beautiful export. And that's going to drive the big fusion or the big adoption. So consider this, that music industry and even governments and traditional infrastructure will not be there to unlock these opportunities to help the future of creativity and the creator economy work and earn like anybody else in the world. We're in a third world country, and we have such an opportunity for every builder, every creator, every entrepreneur sitting here to come and plug in and mobilize yourself and come and build for a large population that's predominantly going to create their own jobs. And this is exciting because if you look at Chainlink's analysis, we are the second most adopted crypto market in the world, but nobody knows about it. So whether you're in gaming or if you're in content or you're in learning or anything that is educating young people, from the age of 6, they're on the internet. They start monetizing their own talents and their passions through gaming at the age of 16 already. It's a huge, huge opportunity. So yeah, our vision is to build for this. It's the last and the largest market on earth to be digitalized. We believe it's going to run on the blockchain, and we'd love for you to partner with us and build it together, and the same way that Revelator has backed this project. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. If you want to ask some questions, I don't know if now's the time, but...
Yeah, I think we have 3 minutes if anybody has any questions.
Sure.
Right.
Yes, how's it?
Yeah, I can bring in a microphone. Just a sec. There you go.
Thanks. Thanks for the presentation. I'm interested to understand the promotional side of an artist, right? Because the companies are there already. They'll obviously push an artist and kind of get them on a much larger stage. And obviously we'll get the idea of kind of fan engagement and so on, but that has a limit, has a cap. So how do you kind of propose? I mean, sometimes you can't avoid the old industry, right? And the old industry taking its share for the work that it does. I mean, how do you propose kind of finding, I guess, the winning artists on your platform and really helping them get on a kind of global stage?
No, that's a good question. So you are right. So you need a subject matter expert or team around you. Your labels have the resources. Now, we have the #1 hip-hop artist in South Africa. This is his venture, his money, he's backed this idea. So himself has been signed to Def Jam, Universal Music Records, for 4 or 5 releases already. And I think when you see that artist and everything that he's learned and matured and maximizing his capacity within, let's say, South Africa, it's about time for him to step on and step out. So he's built capacity, he's made as much as he can, and now he's taking that wealth and continuing to invest in other creators that aspires to be like him. I'll give you an idea. Red Bull and Nasty C ran a campaign in 2019. And the campaign was about, are you an independent artist, young person, do you have an idea for music? Submit your track to this webpage and come and record it with Nasty C in the Red Bull music studio. Within 1 week, 20,000 individual artists submitted music. There was over 180,000 songs in catalog before the competition even started. It was a mess. How do you organize all of that work? If they had the Revelator platform, they could have onboarded them. But that's the pull power, that's the sheer demand to get mentorship, to get access. And I mean, a label, it's not worth their ROI to invest in it if there's no talent that has proven some metric. So, this platform has a lot of data. The barrier to entry is super low for an artist to understand their own worth first before looking for a label. And I think harvesting community, if you're not making one person move in the room, there's not going to be a second or a third. So as an artist, you have to kind of put your art into practice and start proving that you have a metric to move, that you have a fan to acquire, you have a fan base to communicate with, and do the gigs, do the hard miles, maybe digitally or traditionally, and eventually, somebody like Nasty might front you with a check or give you an advance, or your own fan base might fund you. To become a superstar is just not the ambition anymore, right? So it's about micro community. All these TikTok influencers or these TikTok artists that put out one song and just go massive, there's no label behind them. TikTok's algorithm is working in their favor, and they've learned how to hack that system and growth hack their presence to get a fan base where a label is not necessary. I think what a lot of young people are starting to understand is, what is my equity in my intellectual property? And that is becoming also more true. Previously, maybe a few years back, if you write a South African artist 100,000 Rand check or dollar check, he'll buy his mom a Mercedes-Benz and himself, and he'll spend the rest. He'll be broke, but he'll make the album, he'll look rich, but he'll be broke. That has changed. Money is not freely distributed, the competition is high, and I think a lot of local labels are trying to get their artists to an international market, considering all the hits that Africa has been getting at the Grammys. Tyler, Water, those songs that you might have heard. Black Coffee, these guys are creating a new stage. So we believe capital will come in and nurture and invest, but it's the guys who's first. You need the infrastructure, you need the rails, so that everybody else can help foster that talent. I'm not an artist manager. I'm not a growth hacker, but I surely have enough data to prove how hard it is to be a streaming-only musician. It's extremely difficult. And it's about not just being in as an artist, that's your hook, that's maybe your content format to get into the game, but you got to consider that artists are going horizontal as a brand. So they're starting to build more platforms, starting to create more, I would say, consumer products, which diversifies their risks, because your time to being famous is probably 2 or 3 years, and then you're on the shelf. So, there's so many responses to that. I can speak tomorrow. The long and the short is, it's super hard. You build a platform, you make it open, and the community will come and help. Maybe there's a growth hacker sitting here that wants to build a marketing app to help artists grow. Maybe there's somebody else here that has a playlisting concept and wants to do playlist as a service for artists. Come and plug in and monetize the community. So I think that's just how we think about it right now.
Awesome. I don't know if we have more time, but just to add to that, I definitely agree with you that that in traditional markets there is a lot of reliance on the bigger labels and the bigger connections in order to break an artist. But we're seeing that shift, and we're also seeing that influence the types of deals that major labels are able to sign. So if with the beginning of the streaming economy, labels would go with these 360-degree deals where they have 0.5% of all your income from all sources, that's becoming less and less viable because artists are seeing they have more and more opportunities to break out and connect directly with brands because of platforms. And as I said, I believe a lot of artists are going to still rely and want to rely on intermediaries, but we believe these types of intermediaries who are transparent, fair, and more helpful to the artist to build his own IP and stay in charge of his own IP is something that's going to also force the industry to change a little bit of how it's behaving, and it's going to be a long transition, but we're here for the long run. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Enjoy the last panel.